The goal of education is not just to teach, it's to have children, have our students
In
learn.
the United States today, and perhaps most importantly North Carolina, we're debating the proper way to fund our public schools. In this debate, we're talking about three quality factors. One, how the construction of charter schools and rural school districts impacts public schools in those same districts. Two, how the charter school budgets impact the public school budget. And perhaps most important one, how public school districts must contend with a combination of the two. In this interview, I spoke with Nash Recommend Schools Superintendent Dr. Anthony Jackson and Nash Recommend Schools Finance Director Ms. Susan Blackwell. We also discussed how they are preparing their schools for the potential impact.
So I guess the first question would have to be, do charter schools impact the district? And if they do, how do they impact you?
Sure. Charter schools impact the district in two ways. Ideally, charter schools are in place because they provide an option that maybe the school district doesn't provide, either through program or through some other means. By nature, a charter is supposed to be an agreement between parents and the school that we're going to offer or meet a need that the school system somehow cannot meet. The second way is it impacts us based on funding. Every student that leaves us that go to a charter school, the money that the state provides to the school district travels with that student to that charter school. So that's how charters are funded. They get their money based on the students who they can attract into their school. So you have two ways that they can impact the school system. They may be able, there's a positive way where they can offer a program that maybe we don't offer. Or the other way, the negative way, is that they in fact reduce the availability of resources to us based on the number of students they're able to attract to that program.
So I guess the next question would almost have to be, how do you prepare your teachers, or how do you prepare your offices to deal with that potential influx of more charter schools being added to the district? Because I know in 2011 they removed a cap on how many schools there could be in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you go about preparing your teachers to face that drastic change so quickly?
Well, we've not seen a drastic change, which means that overall our parents are pretty pleased with the programs that we're offering. We've had, now when they opened the first charter school here at Rocky Mount Preparatory, a few years ago we lost students. But we've steadily, it's leveled off, so we've stabilized. We had a new charter school since the cap to open in Edgecombe County. We've not lost many students at all to that school, maybe 4. So we've not really had to make any adjustments, but I attribute that to we've been very intentional about making sure that our programs are meeting the needs of our students, that we're being responsive to what parents are saying they need in the educational environment, and 3, I think we're also trying to be as innovative as any charter school could be. See, I think charters are about choice, and if parents, if they believe that they lack choice in the traditional public school environment, then charters become a very strong option. If parents have choice in the traditional school environment, then that it makes that choice a little less attractive to them. So the way we prepare, it's not something you prepare by department or school, and you prepare as an organization for influx of enrollment or a dip or an increase. But you also ensure that we're as competitive and that we are in fact filling the needs that our parents say they want for their students. So that's the only way you can address it over time.
All right. Final question. I'm not entirely sure if I have it on that sheet, but if not, I guess I can just tie it to the other 2 questions. Let's say 10 years from now, something happens to the Rocky Mount Prep School and somehow it closes. Now, would you be prepared to bring back in that many students into your school system, or would you have to take steps before you can say, okay, we can bring them back in, and we have to do this, and this before we can make it work?
Well, obviously, that's the million-dollar question. I think we would have to be prepared to gear up, and quite frankly, your assumption is absolutely right. If those schools close, we are required to take those students back. We don't have a choice. That's the traditional public schools remain their home schools. In fact, it happened this year in Kinston, North Carolina, where a charter school did close. And so the school district, on a moment's notice, had to find room for about 300 or 400 kids. which was a challenge because they had to hire teachers, they had to find classroom space, they had to, it put a strain and a stress on them. However, the money passes through the school district to the charter, so in this case, I think they were able to recoup some of that money to help with that transition, but some of the money had already gone to the charter school, and they were not going to get that money back because the school was not successful due to finances. So I think we're always concerned about that. We're always prepared for that. But I recognize clearly if Rocky Mount Preparatory School, for whatever reason, were to no longer exist, there are 1,100 students that I would have to take. If all of the charter schools in the state were to just close up, there would be thousands of students that we would have to find a place for, and the only place that would be required to take them would be the traditional school. But I would ask the question from the converse too: if the public school system, traditional public school system, no longer were functioning as we expect, could the charter schools take them? And the answer to that would be clearly no. So I think we have to have a blend of both. And I think it gives parents a nice opportunity for options if they choose an option for their child. I don't have a problem at all with charters as long as they're meeting a need that I can't meet. I do have a problem with charters when, in fact, they're just duplicating what we're doing because there's nothing special about that. I think if they were going to do something innovative or something new and fresh that the traditional schools just could not do, then that's what charters were designed for. They were not designed to just replicate a traditional school under the guise of looser accountability so that we can kind of do what we want to do. And so I think then the competition then is fair and balanced. So I just think that's a good question, but I think you should ask it from both sides of the coin. We would be ready, obviously, because we would have to be. But if the traditional public schools were no longer to exist, what would happen?